Let's just chug it. Hey there, welcome back to my channel, or hello if you're new. My name is Raven, and today we are going to be talking about my favorite machine in the house or appliance? Appliance sounds better. We're going to be talking about my favorite appliance pretty much ever. That is the Breville Barista Express. I have had this machine for 3 years, and I know that it is still very easy to find. It is still in stores. I know a lot of people are probably considering getting a coffee bar at home, either because of the last 2 years in general and not wanting to go out for coffee, or just considering it as an option. I know that making coffee at home is often seen as like more cost-effective way of getting your caffeine in. And so I have a lot of thoughts and opinions after having this machine for 3 years, obviously gone through like many maintenance cycles. I show it in my videos all the time because I really like it, but I do have some opinions about whether or not it's right for you. I'm not trying to tell anyone what their coffee bar should look like or what they should buy, but I just want to give some information that I have accrued over owning it. Couldn't really find when I bought this machine. When I bought this machine, did have videos about it, which thank goodness, because that's how I learned to clean it. I didn't really see a lot of persons. It was mostly like companies that specialize in coffee talking about the like very fine, minute details, which is really cool, and I enjoyed that content, but I didn't really get to see anyone who's just like waking up, making some coffee in the morning and using this machine and what they thought of it. So I finally remembered that I have the machine now and I can make that content. Before we dive in, I'm gonna give you some context about who I am, just in case you are new or this is the first time you have ever seen any of my videos. I worked as a barista collectively for about a year, which I know isn't very long, but I really freaking enjoyed that job. It was probably my favorite job ever. I personally don't actually drink a lot of coffee, which is probably very surprising, but I love making coffee and I love getting to play with all of the different flavors and making drinks for other people. It's so much fun to me. So that is basically why we ended up getting an espresso machine for home, because I no longer had an employee discount. And I really like playing with the coffee myself, even though I do have some orders. There are just some things that I'm so specific on that I don't want to ask someone else to do it because I feel bad, because it sounds way over the top. But when I'm making it for myself, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad at all. We ended up buying an espresso machine after I stopped working at one of my barista jobs before I started working at a different barista job. I don't think I have gone like a full week without using this machine since we bought it. I am so very happy with this purchase, but I also know that it would not suit everybody. I just get some details out there in case you are trying to figure out what the right sort of machine would be for you. Let's dive into an overview of just the machine itself and look at some features, because I'm not going to be doing a pro and con list of every single thing, but I know that there's probably a couple of features that might make or break for you. Let's just jump in and I will see you when you come back, and we'll actually talk about the pros and cons and all of my collective thoughts. Before we jump in, I just want to let you know that Mischief has demanded to sit in my lap, and he has never been in my lap during a voiceover before, so there's a chance that he might cause a ruckus. Anyways, let's jump into the overview of the machine itself. This is an all-in-one semi-automatic espresso machine. It includes a bean grinder for if you would like to use fresh whole beans. It has the espresso extraction. It also has a steam wand. This is a single boiler. It is not a dual boiler. I have not tried to steam milk while pulling a shot, but I will say that just steaming the milk itself does take longer than when you're working with a double boiler, or at the very least a commercial double boiler, which would definitely make a lot of sense. The dimensions of the machine, which I'm gonna have on the screen, is 12 inches wide, 11 inches deep, and 13.5 inches tall. I don't know if that actually includes the bean hopper. Bean hopper has a half-pound capacity, and the water tank has a 67-ounce capacity. The machine weight was apparently not very narrowed down online, and while one source said 2 pounds, and I absolutely know that is not true, another source said 26 pounds, so I weighed my machine without any water or beans in it. I didn't vacuum out the beans or anything like that, and my machine was 21.6 pounds. So if you add in your half pound of beans and your 67 ounces of water, you're looking at a very heavy machine. There are a lot of accessories that come with this in order to help pull really great shots of different kinds, and also to maintain your machine. I don't really use the trimming razor, but obviously I use the portafilter, and I only use one of the baskets, but that's just because my husband and I both tend to go with double shots of espresso at all times. And then I also use the single dual wall for cleaning the tablet. Those are the only two I use, but if I ever have a friend come over who wants one shot of espresso, after I kindly ask them to leave, I would have it there to make for them. I just probably still wouldn't end up using it since they would not be welcome anymore. It does come with a couple of tablets and I think maybe one filter, but you will need to replace those as time goes on. I think I clean my machine out about once a month, and the filter is supposed to be changed out every 2 months, but I tend to just do them both at the same time because they take around the same amount of time and it's just a really easy thing to multitask. The reminder for the filter change is in the back of the machine, and I find that to be very inconvenient. So if you get this machine and you are like me and you will not remember to change your filter, I put it in my cleaning app and in my Google Calendar. There's also a milk jug. It is a fairly small milk jug, but it works with the size of the machine. I don't really like steamed milk, so I don't use it very often, but I think it is nice quality at the very least. It also comes with a few tools to help clean around the machine and the steam wand. The front of the machine has most of the controls that you are going to need to make yourself a good cup of coffee. There are 5 round buttons. They are all the same diameter. They're very nice and sleek. I think it's a really nice look. One button is to power the machine. You're not able to schedule coffee turning on the way you are with other machines. There's a button to control the filter size when you are grinding the beans with 2 different lights that will light up to indicate which size you're on. There is a button to program if you want to really dig in and change and customize how your shot is being pulled. There's also one button to indicate a single shot and one to indicate a double shot, and there is a dial on the left hand side between 2 of the buttons to customize the grind amount. I find that when we just keep buying the same roast consistently, we don't have to mess around with it too much, but when we try to experiment more with different roasts and different coffee brands, we did have to adjust it a lot more frequently, and also we had to clean it a lot more frequently when we tried to use dark roast coffee beans, which is common to my understanding with home machines just because of the oils that are involved in darker roast. There is a gauge in the center of the front face and it shows you how much pressure is being used so that you know if your shot is being pulled within the espresso range. It also has an indicator on that gauge that tells you the espresso range. I think it is really fun to watch it. If you are pulling into an opaque glass or you're not as comfortable with looking at the layers, or you're just really into the science, it is a great help. I still think it's really fun to look at. Below that, you have a magnetic tamp storage, the grinder, and the extraction zone. I don't know what that is actually called, but extraction zone sounds sort of close to the idea. I genuinely love the magnetic tamp slot. I think it is fantastic. On the bottom of the machine, you have a drip tray, which includes an indicator that will float up to the top when it is ready to empty. Behind that, when you pull the entire thing out, is a storage tray to put all of your accessories. On the left-hand side of the machine, you have a dial to adjust your grind size. One direction will make it more coarse and the other will make it more fine. On the right hand, you have a dial to activate the steam wand or hot water. I haven't used the hot water to try making it an Americano or anything like that. Mainly, I have used it to rinse off the steam wand because I use a lot of plant-based milks and they can leave a really gross film that doesn't come off while you're trying to purge and clean your steam wand. On the back of the machine, you have your water tank, and inside the water tank is the filter and filter basket. And on top of the machine, you have your bean hopper, which I already said holds about a ½ pound of beans. And then there's sort of just these grooves so that you can kind of use it as a storage section. I do like to keep my milk jugs, or I tend to like a lot of ice drinks, so I have a cup just to grab a big scoop of ice. And so when I'm not making coffee, I just put the cup up there. That is it. Mischief did start to fuss up a little bit, but hopefully it wasn't too loud. Let's get back to the review. All right, we're gonna jump into the pros and cons now. I try to narrow it down so that we are not here for 5 years. You know, it's one of those days. Anything is possible. So first we're gonna go over the prawns. First, let's go over the pros. Obviously, I feel like this is already clear enough. I do like this machine and I don't regret buying it. While I do have almost an equal amount of cons, it's really just because I was trying to think of the different types of people who are probably looking at buying a coffee machine. Let's jump into the pros. I think this machine is very convenient if you're not interested in buying like 5 million different things. It having a grinder and a steam wand is really freaking beneficial. I actually don't use steamed milk very often. I just don't like it, but I do love that it has a grinder and it does work pretty well for me. I will say, and I didn't list this in the cons, but I meant to, a big thing with at-home machines, which I found out after it went very wrong, was that a lot of at-home machines don't do very well with dark roast beans because there's just more oils in them. And the one time we bought like a bag of dark roast beans to use it in our machine, it kept clogging. That is apparently pretty common with like all consumer grade grinders. I think if you're interested in using a lot of dark roast beans, it would probably be better just to have a separate grinder, because it is not fun to like take the whole machine apart to like vacuum out the clog and get it all sorted. Honestly, if we had just had like a separate grinder for the dark roast and then like kept the blonde roast in, I would have much preferred that, but I like blonde roast anyway. So for me, that is not a big big deal at all. I love that it is all-in-one and convenient. It has held up for 3 years with no structural or like functional issues at all, which is, I'll be right back, I gotta go take my meds. So over the last 3 years, this machine has had no structural or functional issues, which I feel like is very worth noting, because I feel like a lot of coffee machines are not made to like withstand a very long time. I feel like there are a lot of things that are very overpriced and don't last very long. I'm very salty at the moment because my laptop died. I also think that this machine is very easy to use. I had never done anything like tamping or pulling shots manually. This is semi-automatic, so like you're not starting from scratch and having to learn everything about espresso. I think that this machine being semi-automatic is pretty perfect. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room if you do want to learn how to be more precise with your coffee, but if you're not super interested in being precise with your coffee and you just want it to pull a shot, you get to feel cool and snazzy while you do it because you still have to tamp your shot yourself. I do think that the drinks that I make at home are comparable to the drinks that I would make or purchase at a cafe. There is some differences, but most of the time it's not major. I think mostly the difference is like the syrups are different brand entirely, so there's just gonna be a different taste. I don't know, honestly, like I like the drinks that I make at home more depending on the season. I don't really buy a lot of coffee drinks when we go out. We do go to Starbucks every weekend, and I am pretty happy to get like a chai frappuccino. Well, it's winter, so currently I am buying a caramel brulee every weekend because they just make me really happy. I think that the hopper holds a great amount of beans. I also think the water reservoir holds like a really great amount of water. I do hate that it's like in an awkward position to fill. I really love the way they incorporate storage into this machine. I specifically like how the tamper has that little magnetic slot. I think it's pretty much genius. And I also really like the storage under and behind the drip tray. I will say, I think it is a little inconvenient, not entirely. I feel like it's really annoying when the drip tray is kind of full and I'm trying to reach to grab the tray behind it, and sometimes the magnets don't let go, and so I'm pulling this tray full of water and the box of all of the accessories is trying to come with it, and I just want to dump the water, but now I'm having to fight magnets. In general, I just really think the machine is designed well. I think it works very well, and I think it is like designed to last, which is really important if you're spending this amount of money on something to make coffee. There are more expensive machines to make your coffee that will do more for you as far as like the workflow, but there's also like way cheaper options that don't necessarily make terrible coffee. If it didn't last well, if it wasn't designed this well, I would have much different opinions, but I'm pretty happy with the experience that I've had with this machine, and I'm not like actively looking to replace it, but like there's very minor things that I would want to improve on with a future machine. If you're curious, I didn't write this down, but literally the only thing that I would like replace this machine for is to have a machine that does all of this but has a double boiler so that I could steam the milk a little bit easier. It's not a make or break thing. Like I said, I don't really like a lot of milk in my coffee, and I don't do a lot of hot coffee drink, but my husband does really like them, and if it was a little more convenient, I would probably, you know, be nice and make him coffee more often, but well, I don't. Let's move on to the cons. And I tried not to be super nitpicky, but I did try to be thorough with what I was thinking. The first con is the price tag. It is expensive. It's more of a luxury item than a necessity, and I completely understand that, but I would say that like cost per use, it has been worth it. It absolutely has been, but that is knowing that I like making espresso every morning. I am using it multiple times a week and over 3 years, and it's definitely gonna last us some more time. I absolutely think that this machine is worth the price. It's just, it is a big price. My camera is dying, so let's take care of that. So the second con that I was very easy to consider is the size of this machine. This machine is freaking massive. It is not a space-friendly kind of machine. If you have a small kitchen or just not a lot of counter space that you could like have things left out on your counters, I wouldn't recommend this. It needs a designated area, which we have plenty of floor space in our kitchen, but we don't have a lot of counter space. So we have a piece of furniture completely designated as our coffee bar, but like really it started that way because this machine just, it eats up so much space. In addition to that is the weight of this machine. Oh God, my skein has just collapsed in on itself. Okay, so not only are you looking at it needs designated counter space or like would be in your way all the time, it is also really freaking heavy. It would not be convenient if you had a cabinet that you could put it in. I don't think you would ever pull it back out, like especially not every morning or even once a week to make your coffee, because I know 20 pounds isn't a lot, but it's like 20 for some people, but it's 20 pounds and it's an awkward shape and there's no handles and there's like nothing to grab on to make it easy to lift, because it is meant to sit still and stay there. If you don't have the space for it, that is a huge con. Because of the weight, you would have to get like a nice piece of furniture. You would have to invest in it, because if you got like, I don't know, I know a lot of people use like those metal racks. We have one for our like pantry storage. I think if you got a cheaper one from Target, it would die. I think this machine would like warp and bend like any lightweight material, either build something, which is what we want to do eventually. You would have to build something or buy another piece of expensive furniture, and maybe that is completely up your alley and that's exactly what you want. But if you were just looking for like a much lesser commitment, this is a huge con to me. Every time I have to move it, like I recently reorganized our kitchen and moved the coffee bar entirely. The syrup collection we have and the machine itself were so freaking annoying to deal with. Yeah, if you had to move it regularly, I absolutely would not recommend this machine for you. I think there are some much smaller, lighter machines. I don't know how well they would last. I don't know how well the quality would be, but like, there's just a better option for you out there, and this is not it. I'm also not like trying to complain about the weight of the machine. I understand that the weight of the machine being stainless steel, it's why it has lasted me so long. That is not completely me complaining about this machine. It's just that I understand that this would negatively affect someone in a different situation. I'm doing better than I was earlier, but like I'm still making some weird word mouth mistakes. The last thing I will say about this machine, which this is not even me trying to complain about the machine, it's really just me trying to think of things that other people would not be okay with, is it is a semi-automatic machine, which means you do have to do some of the work, and there is a learning curve involved in like learning how to tamp your own shot. I'm not even sure if I do it right. Honestly, I've had it and like I think I'm doing fine, but I'm waiting for someone to look at a video and be like, you did that wrong. You do have to learn how to tamp your own shot. There are settings that I'm not gonna say you have to do, but would benefit from learning how to use. If you're not like interested in coffee science and coffee culture, this just might not be the most ideal thing for you, which is completely fine. I know that there are so many coffee options. Yeah, if you're not interested in the science of coffee, you might not like it. On the other side of that spectrum, if you want like really, really finite detail, I don't know if this machine would allow for it, mostly because like I want to learn more about coffee, but like honestly, I don't know enough. I know that you can start playing with it though, and I have a little bit. I don't think tamping is a deal breaker. I don't mind tamping my own coffee. I think it makes me feel very fancy, to be completely honest. If you're really just looking to like have a quick coffee and run, I don't think that would be the best option. My closing thoughts on this machine are absolutely, I love this machine, but I know that it's not for everyone. I think if you are looking for a machine that would let you play with the settings and sort of experiment with coffee science a little bit more, and you have the space to designate to a coffee bar, this might be really fun for you to consider. I know it is a good chunk of change, but I'm pretty happy with it, and I know for myself it has been worth it. Honestly, if you're just looking for like a really easy coffee in the morning or like a really tasty coffee, it really just depends on your comfort zone. I would say, as an ex-barista who used a fully automatic machine, learning curve wasn't terrible, but I know that working with espresso and making a lot of coffee will probably give you a wider comfort zone with making coffee. I definitely don't think this is the best option to consider if you have a small kitchen and you want to keep your counter space. But if you have like the footprint that allows for you to have a designated coffee bar, it's a lot more feasible. I will say, we did go into this machine with a really terrible expectation, and I really need to touch on that real quick. If you are planning to get this machine to save you money from Starbucks or whatever coffee shop you're going to, I don't think it's the right option depending on how you expect your coffee bar to be. I really like having different milk options available to go with the different flavor combos, and I really like to play with different flavor combos, which means we have to have an array of syrup. While I think that's very fun and I love planning out our syrup orders, it is not cheaper. It does not save you money. However, if you just like one seasonal flavor, or you have your go-to drink and that is all you want, or like just a couple of go-to drink, that is way more feasible and probably would save you a lot of money. My method, the one that we've been using for the 3 years that we've had this machine, absolutely not even a little bit. There are so many options to consider. There are so many ways to enjoy your coffee, and there are so many ways to make coffee, whether you're trying to make it on the cheaper side or you're trying to go with like a really decadent, luxuriant experience. Whatever it is that you're going for with coffee, I really hope that you find your solution and that this helped you with finding information out that help you make that decision. If you were considering this or you don't know where to get started with a coffee maker, that would be a good video. But I really just want to emphasize that there is no wrong way to make coffee as long as you enjoy your coffee. I think it's very easy to get caught up in like the whole coffee culture, almost gatekeeping, sometimes absolutely gatekeeping mentality of like it has to be the purest bean with the purest roast and the best grind and the most amazing filtered water. I'm not trying to discount that those things can be very important to some people and that they do make really good coffee. I completely understand that there's a lot of people who are just using this for the caffeine. There are a lot of people that just want that to be a transportation vehicle to their favorite creamer. And a lot of people just don't want too much fuss with their coffee. And that is completely fine and completely valid. However it is that you're enjoying your coffee or tea or liquid, I just hope you're hydrated, honestly. I think that's all I have to say today. I hope you're having a wonderful day or that tomorrow is better. Please hit subscribe if you like cozy and productive and coffee content. Let me know how you like your coffee in the comments below, or if you have any other video requests related to coffee or pretty much anything else. Hit subscribe if you want to hang out more. I will see you guys next week with another video. Did I forget something? Oh, there's another page of notes. Oh, I covered that. Cool. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.